Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
And I don't hear a dog, do I?
God knows, probably.
Okay. He was up here earlier, but I thought the only thing is they're click-clicks.
Yep.
They really aren't bad barkers. But anyway. All right, well, January...
They're howlers.
Yeah, they're howlers. January is our month of making sewing space, and I think this will be published in January.
January 2019.
2019, and we've got the zine out by the time this is published, and you wrote a little article about, like, your sewing spaces throughout your life.
Yes, it was sort of like the evolution of my sewing space. We haven't even titled that article yet, I guess.
I guess not. Yeah, not at this point.
Sewing evolution, sewing space evolution.
So what I think is so useful, and people have said this, like, about our media, is that you have a lot of experience, and like you are
because I'm old.
They love it that you're old. They're like, thank
like
goodness.
They like that I've lived this long.
That Zede is old.
That's what Zelda says. Why are you so old? Because I've lived a long time, Zelda.
And you can share kind of more of that experience. And I'm a younger person, and so maybe a little bit more, in touch with some of like the trendier things. I'll bring up stuff, and Zede will be like, well, I did that in Girl Scouts.
Yeah, Mallory's much more trendier than me.
I don't even want to say that because it's not true. But,
Yeah, it's just so much in the groove, and I'm not.
I just haven't. I mean, who does aerial silks? Who is trendy? Zede
I wonder.
Yeah. So what I thought was really cool about this article was some of how you shared your limitations of what you did in your sewing journey. I think a lot of people are on everyone's on a different phase of their sewing journey.
Yeah, different plays. Right.
If they just started, and then how old they are and how well established they are. Are they still in school? Are they, are they out of school? Do they have a job? Do they not? Are they staying home with kids? Do they not have kids? Or did they take up this hobby after having another hobby or whatever?
Or did it become their occupation?
Yeah, right. So I think that all is really wonderful to explore and neat for you to write about that. So what I want to talk about is, I'm going to break this down a little bit different way, but you can read the article in the zine. It's about your about some of the themes, some of the things like that. So what was the first way that you ever stored fabric?
Well, I think it probably was, get this, in a bag, a paper bag, because we didn't do plastic bag, from Penny's, because Penny's is where I bought my fabric.
So you just kept it like in the shopping bag, right?
Well, here's the deal. When you say store fabric, at first I didn't store fabric.
Okay.
I sewed it up, right? Then I got to where, maybe I buy fabric for 2 projects. Right, but pretty much I sewed it up. Now I saved scraps though.
Right.
So I had a box, like a shoe box or something, and I think the thing is, I was a teenager.
Right.
It wasn't like I had funds to go out and buy,
right,
something or whatever. So if I saw a nice box, like I think I may have started out with like a shirt box, is what they used to call them, from Christmas or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then, if I found a nicer, sturdier box, maybe I would, then get that, or a prettier box. And so I would use that. And then I did start to accumulate. And the other thing that happened that I didn't put in the article, because it's an article, it's not a book, right?
Right.
So my aunt who was in the costume, guild union and worked for Universal Studios. She may not have when I was really young, but that's where she actually wound up spending most of her sewing history. She started sending me yardage, like for my birthday.
That's how you.
Well,
built her.
And some of the yardage, it was sometimes it was something she just found she liked. Sometimes it was the ends, like the remnants of what they had made costumes from, or what they had sewn for a show or something. So that was real exciting for me. So I would get this. It would have a straight pennant, and it would say, "This came from the Carol Burnett show," or this came from whatever. I started using suitcases.
Okay, I love the suitcase thing.
Right.
All right, this is
and when you and I
love
said,
it.
okay, this was even like pre-Samsonite suitcases. This is when the suitcases were like leather,
Uh-huh.
and like cardboard, and they were covered, and I remember it was my dad's old suitcase, and it was sort of maybe like a mustardy tan, and had like darker tan, embellishments on it, but because of course he had stepped up to a plastic Samsonite or whatever, right. So started out that was like my first like container that wasn't cardboard or a bag.
Okay, I love this tip for someone who's listening who is like a teenager or isn't in like their like forever home yet.
Well,
a suitcase
I was going to say,
wheels.
what else do we have sitting here? We have suitcases up here.
We do. We have suitcases.
We use suitcases a lot for costumes, like transporting costumes, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you are,
and now they're on wheels.
Yeah,
that suitcase was not on wheels.
Sure,
but it was square, and you could stack it. So like, I could actually even set my sewing machine on top of that suitcase.
It
in
could
the
be
corner.
like a piece of furniture, or a holder, or something. Yeah. So if you're a college student, or if you're in an apartment, or if you I feel like we have like a lot of people who travel a lot in our group. They're like, I'm moving,
going to this job,
different countries and stuff. Like, what about that being almost a semi-permanent storage?
Sure.
Solution.
Well, and I think why I used it. Okay, so we didn't have these big plastic containers like we do now. People did not hoard stuff like we do now. I don't know if the money wasn't there or the product wasn't there, but you didn't hoard things like we do nowadays, or collect.
Is easier to access now.
Right.
Shipping and buying online, all of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You didn't. I mean, I would have never thought I was going to have rooms full of fabric.
Well, and there's a whole industry based on helping people deal with their stuff. Right?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, and we're talking about
actually,
it
my
now.
husband says that all the time. Why didn't we go into container, container business?
I mean, and I'm a person too. I'm not saying like that I'm some kind of like perfect, clutter clearer or something, but there's all this media now, like our society in particular, got a lot of stuff.
The other thing about the suitcase is it had a handle.
Yes.
And it closed. It wouldn't pop open.
Right.
And the other thing is it would fit like under a bed or in the top of a closet. It would fit. And I could put it like standing vertically on its end or whatever. I mean, it was, it was kind of a nice shape.
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about like a new friend I just made, and his name is Neil, and he has a drag persona named Lux
You're gonna get him a
Queen.
Suitcase.
I was like, oh my gosh.
He's away at school.
Yeah, he's away at school. Like, he's in college. And then he makes his own costumes. And it's very impressive. Uses, like, a roommate sewing machine. But he, like, comes back and he travels to different places to do shows and everything. And, like, came in here and we helped him out with a costume. And it was just really cool, to see what he's making and stuff. And I thought, oh, this just... I think of like you in college and with this.
I haven't done this for a long time, but you used to be able to go into thrift shops and get suitcases.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, you might want to reline them or clean them out or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know, decootize them, whatever. But
spray them with vodka.
Right. I mean, air them out. I mean, if they smell like something bad, that might not go away.
Right.
But you can also rip the lining out and put new lining on it because I've done that. But anyway, that one of the next things I used actually that I don't think that I mentioned was a trunk.
Okay.
I had a trunk. When you graduated from high school in my day, a lot of times you got a set of luggage. That was like because you went away to school with your luggage, and then you'd be able to travel with it. And mine had, the gold vinyl.
Like the one that I have?
The one you have.
The gold trunk.
That was my trunk.
That was your trunk?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still have that trunk.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So that trunk would be 50 years old.
I'll take a picture of that trunk. Actually, it's holding games in the kids' room
It's held stuffed animals. It's been a toy chest. It's been a coffee table. It's been lots of things.
Sure. Yeah, it was a coffee table at my house for a little while. So, yeah, I thought it was really neat that you created that storage. And, like, that is not something you do now. later, like now, when you are in this house where, you're very well established.
I have a designated room. I have a designated area.
Right.
Yes.
You would never be like, I'm going to bring them this fabric and put it in a suitcase.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's not what's happening right now.
Well,
so.
and that was all the fabric I had, too.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I had like some zippers in there, and I mean, maybe a tin of thread or something.
Right.
Although I still have that. That plastic sewing box? We still have it, too, someplace.
Oh, really?
It was amber color. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I've got to find that, I guess.
But anyway.
Okay, so let's take a quick break, but I want to come back and talk a little bit more about containers and then a little bit about where your sewing machine lived.
Oh, okay.
This episode of Sewing Out Loud is brought to you by our Amazon Influencer Shop. That's right, all of our Amazon recommendations are in one place at sewhere.com/Amazon.
We've organized our store with lists like lingerie sewing supplies, pressing tools, sewing reference books, and we're adding more all the time. Do you have a request for a list of our recommendations? Let us know, and we'll put one together.
When you purchase through our Amazon Influencer Store, Sew Here receives an affiliate commission at no extra cost to you. Help support the podcast while shopping our favorite items that make our sewing lives great. You can even tell your friends and family to shop from our store so that you get fabulous sewing goodies for the holidays. Go to sewhere.com/Amazon to shop now. Sewing out loud. All right, and we're back. And I did not know how far back this habit stretched. But
the beginning of time.
You wrote in the article that you used mint tins.
Yes. like little Altoids tins, and not Tic Tac plastic things.
No.
You couldn't see through them either.
Uh-huh.
They were like little tins.
So mom would take people's trash and turn them into organizational tools.
Yeah, people were. Now a lot of people kept those things in those days. You kept them and you put your straight pins in them, and you kept.
Right.
People kept things. I think my first button collection was probably like in a Rolaids tin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They used to also have medication used to come in like a tube that was metal that had a screw cap on the top. Also, cigars came like that. Oh, and I also would beg for people's wooden cigar boxes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
I just got rid of two of those.
They
weren't yours, but I did get rid of them. Because you can't see through them now that we have this space.
And I have evolved to that, that I would rather see through it.
Right.
Now, in those days, my inventory was not huge. I could remember what was in the suitcase.
Sure.
And it was only 6 pieces of fabric or whatever. It's not like that anymore.
Right. So, Mom, when did you do this? You decorate those mint tins with beads?
I still do that. That's what I have my medication in.
Yeah, so Mom carries around like pills and stuff, and used to just carry around like some mints and some candies.
The pill boxes are stupid. They don't hold my pet. I had to take these like humongous pills that are basically like resin,
right?
And to absorb like certain chemicals in my gut, and they're huge,
right?
And they honestly don't fit in some of the pill containers.
Sure.
Or the pill container you have to buy that it fits in is humongous. So, I had to make my own pill container.
Okay, Mom makes the cutest mint tins.
We can show a picture of
we'll
those.
show a picture of that.
I used to also carry razor blades around in one of those too.
Oh, okay.
I had a little square one that I kept carrying.
Well, I will show at least one of them in the podcast notes here, for sure. So, those mint tins, that kind of cracks me up. And this is very... that Marie Kondo woman who is very big in like the organizing world.
Yeah,
and
Mallory
whatnot.
thought she was so innovative.
Yeah, she, and she's got a Netflix show now. It's really cute. It's darling. She goes into people's homes and it's a nicely produced show.
I had to say that I would not want to do, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. No, she's I
don't want to find other people's surprises when they're not organized and cluttered.
Whether or not you think her, technique is great, I think she's a nice, thoughtful person,
Oh, but there are people that have never thought about organizing things or putting things together or
it's hard. I think
like
it's
putting
definitely...
things someplace.
I think it's a societal thing. I think that there's been that like maybe some people's parents never had to deal with that much stuff. right?
Maybe,
That's what you
but
said
like
earlier, too,
in our
right?
garage we have the electronic
Right.
cabinet and we have the sandpaper cabinet, so you kind of know where to go for things.
Yeah. But I think that it is like there is more stuff now available to a lot of people in industrialized countries, and that's why there's all this media about it. But anyway.
Well, there's also a lot of disposableness.
Yes.
So people aren't worried about keeping things intact, I guess.
Right. So something that she does keep are very nice cardboard boxes.
Yep.
And she recommends keeping the ones from your Apple products.
Oh no, if it's a good box, I really have trouble getting rid of it. It's kind of bad in a way.
And she, so anyway, I was like, oh well, Zede was,
same way
back.
with baskets and plastic containers. Like you just never know.
Baskets.
Mallory's going crazy about the bed. I will handle the baskets.
No, I think that I mean they're fine,
right.
but the irregularity and how they don't stack.
Right. I like
bugs me.
Things with square corners and things that have tops that clip on.
I'm looking at that square cornered basket right there, and I like that basket.
Okay.
Like,
well, and even if you look in my refrigerator nowadays, almost everything I have container is square.
I love
because it fits better.
Yeah, and I love these plastic bins with the holes in them that are rectangular.
Because they breathe.
I love that.
Yes.
And actually, I use those in my bathroom.
Yeah.
Something Marie Kondo has you do. This is kind of getting off topic here.
Isn't it kind of funny? Her name's Kondo.
Well, and it is. It is. And she tells you not to leave anything in your shower. Okay, no soap or anything. You don't leave it on the surface. Okay, so I know this doesn't work for everybody, and for you, the way your bathroom is set up is very different from that wouldn't work very well because of how your bathroom is set up. Of course, you're gonna have things right on your bathtub because they're right there.
Well, I have a huge bathtub.
You have a really big bathtub. Yeah. So I have this little cart next to our bathtub though, with one of those plastic things, and people are not supposed to leave conditioner and shampoo and stuff in the
I have my little tower on my bathroom, and that's where all the shampoo stuff is supposed to go.
Okay, so Zede uses mint tins and all sorts of little containers for sewing stuff, and you should think about that too. Save what you've got.
We still use those things.
Now, you said also before we get to your sewing machine, because I think that is very important. When do you remember when labeling became just so very important? When did did you have a turning point?
Yes. I think there was somewhere between college and my first home that I started labeling. And I think it was in anticipation of the moves. I made between my first home and college, I made 3 moves or something. So I started labeling, because some things were in shoe boxes.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you get to a new place and you're like, something's missing. What's missing?
You don't even know it's missing.
Yeah, or you think one thing's missing. You're like, oh, my seam ripper's missing, but it's not. It's a whole box full of things that your seam ripper's in or something like that. But I think I started and then when I got into that home, that was my first, this bedroom will be my sewing room. I won't have to put things away. I won't, I won't hesitate inviting people over for dinner because I won't have to clear off the, table or whatever.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of evolution in that room, a lot of discovery. And I think part of it was I had more time to dedicate to sewing then. And I was a grown up. I probably sewed that much as a teenager, but it wasn't my home.
Right.
And it was, I was having to go to high school and make grades and go to college and things like that. But when I got that designated room, that's where I had the double door closet and the doors came off the closet. I didn't need that stuff. I didn't want to open one door and then because I had to open one door to see one side and one door to see the other side. Now I even think I temporarily put my sewing machine in the closet with the doors off, and I found that too confining. I always sewed lots of different things and big stuff. So but I know people who have done that.
Right.
And hung a curtain over it and then, they have a guest room and they're...
Well, and Fred's tiny sewing room.
Fred is in a closet, basically.
It's up on the closet.
Yeah.
It's up on the blog. Okay. I don't know if she calls it a utility room or a utility closet or or what that.
Yeah, because doesn't it even have her deep freeze in it or something?
It's got her deep freeze in it.
It's not her laundry
hold
room,
on.
though. Her washer and dryer
No,
isn't
it's
in there.
not her laundry room because I was about to.
It's like a utility closet or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes, and actually,
Or whatever they call them in Canada. Maybe they have a fancy name we don't know about.
We're getting all these comments and people are like, I'll never complain about my space again,
Right.
because she's done such a great job. But why was I going to bring this up? Oh, yeah, it's basically, I mean,
A
she's
closet,
kind
yeah.
of in a closet,
Yeah.
you know. So that's really neat to see that, to see how she has used that space. Very smart. Okay, so let's segue then into, let's go back to the beginning. When you're 13 years old, and your dad buys you that Necky sewing machine.
Right.
Where did it live?
Well, it got, a man came to the house to demo it that night, my birthday night, and it sat on the dining room table. And he demoed it on the dining room table, and there was a table and there was a chair. Now, in those days, ergonomics wasn't as popular as it is now. You did with what you had to do with, So there was this wooden table.
You were young, too.
Wooden table with a wooden chair, I mean, and he demoed it, he would demo it, and then he'd say, you do it, and I'd move over and I would do it, So that, and I was the only child left at home.
Right.
My parents both worked. I basically kept house, so I got to do what I wanted.
Right. You kind of had like a little bit of not free reign, but
right. So
you were in charge.
Right. So that table is where my sewing machine sat, and we didn't use that table at Christmas time. We used it, and I put everything in the suitcase and everything, and I stacked it up in the corner or stuck it in my bedroom in the corner. And the corner was plenty of room at that time.
Right.
I remember accumulating things like good scissors then, and a few things. But so the dining room table was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything specific. And I cut on that table too. And I said that in an article. I guess they really trusted me or something. I was cutting with big shears and stuff. I don't remember like tearing that table up or anything. And I don't remember covering the surface either.
Yeah.
I guess I just wasn't a wild ass cutter. I was cut it. But so then my next move was to college.
Yes.
And I basically sort of wound up with the same thing.
So you had like an apartment?
I had an apartment.
Okay.
And I didn't have a roommate because my mother said roommates always cause trouble. So she was willing to
help you not have a roommate.
help me not have a roommate. And again, I was the only kid at home, so their expenses were only on me at this time. And I left my sewing machine up like 85% of the time, I'd say. I ate on the couch by myself,
right?
With my food in my lap or whatever. I mean, so I didn't want to put it away.
Right.
And, it was like 3 rooms. There was like a living room, kitchen area and a bedroom, and that was it. So it stayed there. And I had my suitcases and I shoved them under that table.
Now, during that time, you say you didn't do a ton of accumulating of stuff.
Right. And I sewed a lot of like gifts. Like my mother's birthday. So, I always made her a nightgown on her birthday. So, of course, I would do that. And I wasn't accumulating a lot of fabric. Now, the other thing I was doing this is flower child time, right?
Yeah.
Is I was putting, like, godets in the side of people's jeans. Okay, so I had some wildflower fabric.
Right.
And I would split open their side seam of their jeans and put this big wedge in. And the other thing I made is Velcro was not that, like, universally used, I guess, like it is now. But I was making these things called, and this was probably my first, like, product I ever made, is I would take a strap of fabric and basically, like, sew a strap, put this Velcro on it, and then you would put it around the leg of your jeans so it wouldn't get caught in
you could protect your godade
Yes,
jeans.
so it wouldn't go in the chain of your bicycle, and those got real popular.
Yeah.
So, and I could whip those up,
right,
with just scraps from other stuff, and even make them out of jeans hems that I cut off and all that kind of stuff. But that is kind of was my pizza money.
Yeah,
I think I charged $3 to him a pair of jeans.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm pretty sure people bitched about it.
Yeah.
And I was.
Universal.
And I had not perfected my technique at that time either, so it was probably more difficult,
like harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so then people often get jealous of our cutting table
They should be.
Yeah.
But no, it's
really
like,
big.
it's it. Yeah.
But just so y'all know, Zede did used to cut on the floor on a
Oh, yeah.
cardboard cutting mat. Okay.
Yeah, somewhere between like college and my first house, I got one of those cardboard
Cutting mats.
Right,
Yeah.
they were fan folded. They still have them. I think you can still find them occasionally
Yes.
someplace. And they had a grid put on them. You know,
Mhm.
it was a 1-inch grid was printed on them. And I cut on that. I remember like putting that on top of a bed and cutting on it, or putting it on the floor. I preferred the floor.
Right.
I would rather be on my knees and have the more stable surface.
Someone just said that too.
Yeah.
They said that they preferred the floor.
Yeah, I
they
I
didn't
did
have
prefer the floor.
table.
And it was, you know, I would cut everything out and then just
Right.
put it back, fold it back up, and put it next to the suitcase with
Mhm.
paper with the other fabric in it. So when I moved into the home, I was still cutting on that, like in the middle
Mhm.
of that room,
Right.
you know. And then I remember bringing in, I brought the door back in,
Right. Right.
you know, that I took off of the closet and put it between two drawer file cabinets.
Mhm.
And I just needed another surface in there.
Right.
And I sometimes would cut on that, but I would still cut on the floor sometimes too.
Mhm.
And I was not yet using the
Rotary cutter.
That came in the next house, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever been in a situation where your sewing machine had to be put away?
Well, actually, even when we moved to Columbia,
You always found a way to like keep it out.
no, it
Or
was
no?
it was like put up for like 4 months. I was
Oh,
going.
okay.
I was like,
Okay.
well, don't you?
Yeah, well,
Because of the construction.
but I guess what I mean is like when not like put away like
Oh,
that.
you mean while I was
That's not what I
using
meant.
it?
Yes, like if did you ever have a situation?
Well,
or did you always get
no,
to keep
because
it
I
up?
made it a priority.
Yeah, you made it. Right.
I mean, I don't think it was anything other than I wanted it out.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it was on my kitchen table.
Right.
Not everybody would have given that up. Or had I had a roommate, I might not have been able to do that.
Sure.
So I was very fortunate there.
But I think that's been one of our most, I feel like for a lot of people really
People say
revelatory.
they have room.
And they will find a way to make at least dedicate a space.
Well, like
to
I
it.
said, that closet.
Mhm.
You know, Stein? Is it
Okay, I don't know.
Is
I don't
it
know if you say her. I think you might say it's Stina.
Stina? Okay.
Yeah, I should.
She just
ask her
showed
right
that
now.
she had, you know, all of those carts on wheels. And I don't know if you remember, but
Yeah.
we did something similar when we had the really big shop.
Uh huh.
We had all of the industrial shelving, and we used to manipulate the rooms
Right.
by using the carts as those big, shelving units on wheels. We had on the back of several of them, we had big cork boards.
Yes.
And we used them as room dividers. And she's sort of doing that. Like she pulls it out like a stack, in a library or something.
I feel like that's a very European setup for those.
Yeah, because Europeans
So I
don't
know.
always have the room we do.
I think that when I've gone to other countries and seen how the storage is designed and the places are designed, I'm like, American suburban sprawl has not served us.
Yeah, we waste space.
We waste a lot of space. Well, that Marie Kondo, she says a lot of the traditional kind of like garments and the traditional bedding and all of that, it can be like folded up and put away. In Japan, I'm sure not everybody lives that way, but it is kind of like sort of ingrained there where.
Well, sewing too.
And
just
sewing's
just in
special,
general,
yeah.
sewing has evolved. The sewing machine used to be considered basically a home appliance. What, don't you think 90% of the households had one?
Right.
Because people repaired their own clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Then it evolved to people didn't repair their own clothes.
Right.
So if they weren't interested in doing it, they didn't have a sewing machine, and they took it to the dry cleaners, and the dry cleaners put the zipper in or whatever. Every household probably had a sewing kit where you could sew on a button if you had to, but that was that.
So I feel like I know that about America.
Uh-huh.
I wonder, for our international listeners,
Right.
I'd love to know how common it was, when you were a kid, how old you are, and
I think I was one of. Okay, so that was in the 50s, 60s.
Right.
I think I was one of the only kids whose mother did
not
a sewing
sew,
machine.
yeah.
Yes.
I'd
Everybody
love
had a
to know
sewing
that.
machine but us.
Yeah, I'd love it for our international listeners to chime in and see if that, do you think, just from your experience, that your country, your area of the world,
where you've lived,
mirrored that same kind of trend that we often talk about, how it used to be that everybody had a sewing machine, or, this is kind of...
Well, everybody used to have tools.
Well, but, sometimes not, because sometimes there was a tailor for...
Well, that's true.
Like, per capita. What if there's a tailor for every 20 people? Not everybody has to have a sewing machine. Like, in Julia Child's cookbook, she says, she gives bread recipes, but she says French people do not bake their bread at home.
Because they have good
There's
bakeries.
a corner bakery. Not just good, but it's available. Like, you would not...
Well, when I was growing up, there were corner bakeries, too.
Right. So you would not...
I was in the city. I mean...
Yeah, exactly. So she says, you would not really find, like, this equipment in the typical
There was
French
always a neighborhood bakery.
home. Yeah. So if there was someone in your community, or your community haven't had enough people who did that, I wonder if that happened. If there was sort of
there
a
were
communal
seamstresses,
thing.
there were tailors, there were people like that. There was a cobbler.
Right.
I think in where we live, our demographic here is probably 250,000 people if you count the outlying areas, and there's one person who repairs shoes.
Right. Right. And
so,
and we can buy them. There's so much more disposable. There's not as much of a need for a cobbler as...
Well, you don't resole shoes.
Right, exactly.
You throw them away and get new ones.
And now there is this, I mean, we're in it. We're in this DIY culture, where people want to kind of like do it themselves and stuff. So I wonder how that has worked in other countries, with somebody like, well, no, my mom didn't have a sewing machine because we took all our stuff to the, the seamstress or the tailor or the laundress or whatever. Yeah, I'm very curious to hear about that. Okay, so your sewing machine has been up basically all your life.
Yeah, since I was 13 years old, I've had a sewing machine sort of within arm's reach.
So it'll be 53 years this February, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
That Zede's had a sewing
That's right.
machine.
Just a couple weeks, several weeks.
A few weeks here.
Yeah, a few weeks away is the sewing machine's anniversary.
That's right. Okay, well, if you want to read more about how Zede's sewing space evolved, you can get the January zine by going to sewhere.com/zine. That's ZINE. Okay, and Stina or Steen did not answer me, but I had a friend who, her name was Christina, but it ended with an E.
Okay,
and she went by Tina, but it was spelled Tine. So over here in America, that's not how we would naturally pronounce that, but I kind of wonder.
Like Risa can be spelled RISE.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. It's the of the E that we don't do in American English, but yeah, I've meant to ask her that so many times. So anyway, all right, everybody, you have a lovely day. You can get to us on Instagram. We are at SewHereCom. You can email me at Mallory@SewHere.com, and I hope you all are enjoying the month of making sewing space in the Self Sewn Wardrobe Facebook group. So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit SewHere.com.